Non-conforming nature. So consider an example. You have a house on a small lot. It's not eligible for any of the exemptions in the bylaw. It's non-conforming. Let's say it has 26% lot coverage and is 8 feet from a property line. And somebody wants to put a small addition onto it, 100 square feet, will increase the lot coverage even more. So it becomes 27%, and maybe has some of that extension is within the side yard setback, as is the existing house, non-conforming house. But even if it's not any closer to the sideline than the existing house, that clearly would require a special permit under the current bylaw. But under the proposed bylaw, it says first, does that increase the non-conforming nature of the structure? And I would contend that it certainly does not. And I don't think that's the intent, that suddenly there are projects that require a special permit now that will not. The bylaw also doesn't say who makes that determination. Doesn't say whether it's made by the building commissioner or by the Board of Appeals or by the zoning administrator. It doesn't say what the procedure is. Is it a public hearing? Is there notice to abutters to comment on whether it changes or increases the non-conforming nature of the bylaw? And one concern I have is if it does.
Madam Chair, I may just, this seems like discussing the bylaw outside of a hearing. There typically is, I don't know if the board has a typical time frame for comments or something that's not on the agenda, but it seems to have gone,
I think we have 3 to 5 minutes.
yeah. I'm just, we've had hearings, we've had a lot of hearings, we've had a lot of discussions about it, and it seems like we're having a hearing outside of a hearing on the verge of, on the eve of town meeting. And I just.
Point taken, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate all the concern you've given to our work, and I'm glad you put it in
And what I had
writing.
to say is in this letter.
Yeah.
And, I really am in favor of the recodification, but not with this
Thank you. Glad I know you on that one.
And Paul will too.
Yeah, there's some for all of us here. Thank you. Minutes.
Pass that on.
Yeah, I'd like to discuss this if I may. It's technically not on the agenda, but the minutes for August 10th, 2021 have been revised, minor revisions, and I recommend approval of that. So I propose that, and I'd like to make a comment after it.
Okay, well, let's make a decision.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of August 10th, 2021.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh,
We're a little bit behind the minutes, and there's some changes on that. Perhaps Mr. Butt will be able to fill us in on what's being done to catch up.
yes. What is our situation?
Yes, so we had some emails, correspondence with our HR department today to tell us that Sarah June, who has been our minute taker, has resigned. She just cannot get this done with the other things she has to get done. So the question was posed by HR, well, they have a person who does the minutes for Conservation Commission, I believe, and they're doing a fabulous job by all accounts, but the person isn't going to be able to come to a meeting. They would work remotely. My reply back to town council, and I believe I copied the chair and the clerk on them, was that from my perspective, I don't have an issue with someone taking the minutes remotely. They can watch the live stream, they can watch the tape afterwards and capture that information. So if there was no objection from members of the board for having a remote note taker, who apparently does swell work, we'll let HR know, and they'll reach out to this person to see if they would be interested in doing the planning board's minutes.
Anyone wish to comment on that? First of all, what's your advice?
Yeah, I have a response to your email. Basically, I see no problem with doing it that way. However, I would like to be sure that we follow the procedure or the format that we've been using the last 6, 7, or 8 years. So I have a memo coming out with the latest minutes showing an example of what it is, but I have no problem with doing it remotely.
And there's always that, because under Massachusetts general law, the minutes aren't a verbatim transcription. So how much stuff do you put in, how much summarize, and in what format? And that's always a bit of a learning curve as we get a new minute taker and getting their style to line up with our style.
Is there any further comment, any objection? No, it seems like the solution in hand.
I actually think it's better that someone can sit at home, they can play the tape and backplay it and rewind it, and I think you get much more accurate reporting that way.
That could easily be true. We're
And
glad
I'm fairly certain it has nothing to do with sitting next to either Jed or me. It's certainly not sitting next to Jed, it would be the objection by anybody, I'm sure.
I wouldn't be so sure.
Jed is lovely.
You never can tell.
So anyhow, I think it's a terrific solution, and as we know, there's been, the ZBA still doesn't have their regular minute taker. Ashley's been doing the minutes for the ZBA for some time now, because they haven't been able to find somebody to fill that void.
If we allow it to be done remotely, we could do a worldwide search and have somebody from anywhere.
Let's not get too deep into this.
Just as a point of interest, on the Transportation Committee, the town has not assigned a note taker to that committee. And the committee members that take turns writing the minutes each week. It's not a very good solution in my mind, but that's happening on that particular committee.
Well, here on the board, I think it would be the person we elected.
Let's say clerk for a reason.
I do once every 6 weeks.
I think we're all set on that.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes.
because Pam is participating remotely, I'm reminded that when you do take action, it needs to be via roll call.
Pam, did you want to give us your opinion about this minute taking? I don't think I've reached her.
Yeah, we,
Oh, she's not. She's either mute or.
Audio is still an issue?
She appears to be doing
She's
something
talking, but we
different.
can't
well, she's watching us on the live stream, because when I said, "Can you hear me, Pam?" and give me one of these if you can hear me, I got one of these. So
Perhaps a thumbs up, thumbs down?
Yeah, we need.
I hopefully, medical science will
Okay,
intervene.
Oh,
thumbs
wait.
down.
Wait, we've just gotten a clear signal.
Hopefully, medical science will intervene
Good, thank you.
before next meeting.
Okay, so let's start going through our agenda. First on the agenda, we have two are connected. Approval not required applicants. The first is for Lot 70 Gardner Road LLC and Denise M. Jarvinen. Plan of land to divide existing lots 70 and 79 into either 2 or 3. 3 it might be, lots, each located at 122 and 138 Gardner Road. Tom, do you want to help us out here? This is a much better representation.
Well, this is just the cartoon, so you understand what happened at the end. So if we want to start with the cartoon and then get into the particulars, there are 3 lots on Gardner Road, and they're all on a public way. And the primary role of the planning board is to endorse a plan if it has frontage on a way. And this is a public way, so the plan is eligible for endorsement by the board. So essentially, they're taking 3 lots and making them into 2. This house has been torn down. So when we look at the plans, one of the issues that I had when I first got this, and like I said, I've seen a lot of A&R plans over my days, is that on the plan, we sort of have Lot 99 and Lot 100, but we also have Lot 96, 95, 79, 78. And so there's a chart over here that says 96 and 98 are going to be combined into these. So I spent a little while, and I used all of my colors of markers to try to sort of follow the trail, the Rubik's of the Gardner A&R, and I sort of have it figured out where things go to, and a lot of these lot numbers are for land court, but when you have a lot number that doesn't have a perimeter drawn around it, it makes it a bit more difficult to follow. So at the end of the day, we are taking 3 lots and combining them into 2, and because of the intricacies of the Falmouth zoning bylaw, where you can keep a non-conforming lot in its non-conformity if you make a switch in their equivalent sizes. There's a 477 square foot parcel trading with a 477 foot parcel, and then we flip all those things with all their land court numbers into another plan that takes those 2 lots that they created here and rearranges them and creates 2 other lots. So initially, what you have before you, I think the first one that's up is the revision of land 70 Gardner Road, LLC, being a subdivision of lots 70 and 79. So with the fact that it's an A&R on a way, and it has frontage, it's certainly proper for the board's endorsement. And the fact that it is somewhat cumbersome to follow, if we were taking 2 lots and making them into 5, I would be very concerned. But where we're making 3 lots and making them into 2, I am less concerned, and the board, as I said, the board's role is, does it have frontage on a way? And yes, it does. So we would the board might make a motion to say, I move to endorse the A&R of lot 70 Gardner Road without regard to buildability.
So moved.
Oh, discussion? John?
Does the applicant have control of all the property?
As I understand from the narrative that I asked Matt Terry to put together for me, 2 families bought these lands and bought the 3rd one. And so if you read the narrative, it explains whom the various parties are. So it's essentially a block party. There's 2 parties, an LLC, that are all sort of swapping and trading the land.
So those 2 parties have control of everything we see on the
As
map.
I understand. But once again, from the purposes of an A&R, who has control, who is not.
Well, I don't want to put an A&R on a piece of land that somebody doesn't even know is being done to them.
But Massachusetts general law says the planning board shall forthwith endorse a plan within 21 days if it has frontage on a way.
I
Massachusetts.
still think I'm correct to ask who. if they
Yeah,
have-
and I always ask, because I'm trying to, crack the code for the board, because you guys are gonna, vote to endorse this.
But you answer my question.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you.
We still need a second on the motion.
We've got a motion. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? No, I would like to
have one
say that the
comment.
cover letter made it much clearer
I have
than
one
the
comment.
drawing.
I think this latest cartoon, as you call it, helps a lot, because I found the letter of November 4th very confusing.
Right. There are people straightening out a lot line going through the swamp, it sounded like.
So now, on the second A&R plan, a plan of land prepared for 78 Gardner Road LLC, being a subdivision of lots 70, 71, and 79, as shown on Land Court Plans 621-5R and 6125V. Those 2 lots that were just moments ago created by the board are now being reconfigured, and we are taking part of Lot 100, part of Lot 99 and Lot 100 that were created, and then carving them up again to essentially make 2 lots that are probably a bit more pleasing to the eye and easier to follow, because they sort of look like rectangles now. So this new Lot 103 that's been created here at the bottom combines the former Lot 100 and Lot 102 to make Lot 103. Then here at the top, we have, I have to get my flow chart here, lots 99 and 101 to create Lot 104. There is an easement through the middle. According to the narrative, there is a walkway that goes through the middle of this property. And there has been some encroachment from the walkway, and rather than try to move the walkway through the area with the Buzzards Bay down the way, it was just easier to move the lot line. And so that path is on there. So there is this essential easement across the bottom of Lot 104 that moves the lot line for the walking space. So with that, they are 2 lots with sufficient frontage on a way. And the board is perfectly within their right if they would like to move to endorse a plan of 70 Gardner Road LLC, being a subdivision of lots 70, 71, and 79. If they
So moved.
so inclined.
Second,
Second.
discussion? Any questions? No,
May I
this-
make a comment?
yes.
It does help, as opposed to the paperwork we got, to have the bottom house renumbered correctly.
It does help.
122 instead of 138. I was scratching my head and wondering, what the heck's going on
The
here?
cartoon helps.
Yeah,
But I
that
thought
helps
that the
too.
cover letter did.
Yes.
Right, once you started underlining numbers.
We would never know how a bill was made without cartoons. I'm only a bill up on Capitol Hill. You can
Okay, we ready
Google it
to
on
vote? All in
Scholastic
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pam? Pam?
Okay.
Yes. Unanimous among those here. Thank you. Moving on. Another approval not required. Thomas Campbell and Deborah Orbach. Plan of land to combine two lots to make one lot located at 466 and 474 Locust Field Road. This is Cape and Islands. Who would like to present for this?
I'm going to speak to this as well.
You're going to do
Yes,
this?
ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
This is an A&R on a public way on Locust Field Road. This little corner you see in the bottom with the dashed line that says former lot line, they're getting rid of that lot line to make it into one lot. Now, this is the sort of thing that people can do without having to come to the planning board at all. It's an 81X plan to erase a lot line between lots, but they chose to come to the board. So it is an A&R plan before the board. It has frontage on a public way, sufficient frontage on a public way, and it's perfectly proper if the board wished to make a motion to endorse an A&R plan for 466 and 474 Locust Field Road without regard to billability.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? No, and no need for comment. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Pam? Pam? Yes. So, all in favor? Okay, now we're moving to a public hearing. The applicant here is it's the fifth hearing, but that Joseph M. and Maria C. Santos, but it's a continuation, definitive plan application to create a four-lot subdivision, but I understand that we have two things we need to deal with. One, there's been a request to continue this to the December 14th meeting. And in order for us to do that, I believe we need to extend the deadline. The original deadline for this was December 4th. That would be beyond the deadline, so we need to extend the deadline, hopefully to December 31st. Could I have a motion for that?
I move that we accept the request of the applicant to extend the deadline for the decision until December 31st, 2021, if necessary.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Pam? Pam, are you in favor? We're voting to extend the
Yeah,
deadline.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Madam Chair,
yes.
I missed one of the meetings. I was away. I'm going to abstain from any more discussions on
Which one?
this hearing.
The Locust Field?
Oh,
Voting or discussions, okay?
It's Santos.
I don't want to leave the room, but I'm not going to.
right, that still gives us four.
Make sure.
Five.
Five.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Right, seen but not counted, okay. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Now we need to continue
A
to...
point of information, please. It's going to be extended to the 4th of December, because someplace I had the 14th, but
No,
on this paper it says the 4th. That's,
the extension is to December 31st, and the continuance, if we go forward as we plan, will be to December 14th.
14th,
We'll
okay.
be back the 14th.
Thank you very much. I'm assuming, just as a point of information, that they're working on some of those glitches that were presented by your engineer.
I think we're all assuming that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, on the continuance,
So we have a motion to continue till
December 14th?
to December 14th,
So moved.
and a second?
Second.
Any discussion of the move to continue? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pam? Oh,
Okay.
all in
thumbs up.
favor? Fine, all set. Now we have a different matter, a public discussion. The applicant is, again, something that we're familiar with, is Falmouth Boat Storage LLC, a site plan review application and construct a new building and storage for the construction of boats. And we have discussed this already at 550 East Falmouth Highway. Who is going to speak for this matter? Mr. Glenn?
So I thought this was going to be much later. You were very efficient tonight. That's pretty good. So my name is Paul Glenn. I'm here tonight representing Falmouth Boat Yard LLC. And also with me tonight is Larry Carrera from Holmes and McGrath, who is going to be here to show you how we answered the question that the town engineers had there. Yeah, we've had 2 meetings on this, and I think we went through many issues, but we're here to just address some of the issues that the town engineer had. And Larry he doesn't have a thumb drive, but he has a colored plan. Is there any way we can put it so you can all see it a little better, or is there?
Here's a plan.
I see an easel here, right? No? You do?
While they're sorting out the
So
technology,
you do it.
did the hearing on the 21st with the ZBA happen?
So the question from the chair was, did you open the hearing with the ZBA on the 21st? For
The
this
hearing's
property?
been open,
Okay.
yes,
Ah,
definitely. We dealt with a lot of things, but they're waiting for, they're waiting for plan, from the planning board,
thank you.
site plan review. Yeah. Pretty good, huh?
Yeah, that works. All right. Good evening. My name's Larry Carrero with Holmes and McGrath. Mike was supposed to present this, but he couldn't do it, so he sent me. It's my first time I'm presenting, so if I get a little stuck here, please bear with me. So my understanding is we've been here before for the previous, and there was some issues that you'd like addressed to the site plan. So I can go through the plan here and what we have.
So Larry, if you would, you can stand at the podium and use the
Oh,
mouse.
yeah, yep, sure, thank you.
And just move the
Yep.
mouse to point things.
Oh, yeah, okay, great, that works, thank you. So, basically, right here, we have our, this is our floodplain zone right there, it's elevation 10. We have a riverfront area, this plan doesn't show, but this line right in here is your 200-foot riverfront area. There's a portion of this lot, or this leased area, that's within this riverfront area. The existing driveway off of Route 28A basically goes up to this point right here. This is paved. The issue here is portion of this driveway is 20 feet wide, other portions of it's a little narrow. So we're proposing to expand any narrow areas of this driveway, resurface it to a width of 20 feet. There are some potholes within this area here. We propose to fix these potholes. Right in here, we're expanding the driveway area. This is about 130 feet of additional pavement that we're going to be extending to the leased area. This plan that's on display here doesn't show, but there is a low area in here that collects water. So we have proposed, the plans that you may have in front of you, I'm not sure, will show some catch basins right along here, and a drain manhole with some leaching pits that are proposed along the property here. This was something that was requested by the town engineering. We have some arborvitaes right along this property line here. The purpose of this is to create a buffer between these two properties in here. This water, we have an 8-inch water main that runs from the Route 28, 8-inch to a hydrant out here. And then off of that water main, we have a couple of water services. We have a 6-inch and a 2-inch domestic service. This plan is an older plan that was shown. This has all been shifted over maybe 20 feet. Right in here, we are proposing a 1,500-gallon septic tank with a leaching field. This new building, this proposed building will have a restroom inside, so it's gonna occupy at least a minimum of 10 employees. So we've sized the septic system for 10 employees. This right here represents a holding tank. There will be drainage that are tied into this overhead doors in case of any spillage within the building. That will be collected within this holding tank. The plan that is shown here, but you may have a revised plan in front of you, we are proposing a dumpster area right in this area, right in here. It'll contain trash plus any recycle. All along this area right in here, all along the gravel, because this is all gravel in here. This is paved. This right in here is 3 parking spaces that are paved. 2 of these parking spaces are handicap. And between the face of the building and the handicap spaces, we have a 5-foot separation for a walkway. The entire parking lot is gravel, so any runoff that occurs in this parking lot will be collected, I should say, within a grass swale that's along the perimeter of the gravel parking. And then this will discharge into the detention basin. This detention basin was sized using the DEP standards for a 100-year, 24-hour storm. Town engineering wanted us to run those calcs for a 25-year, 1-hour storm. We redid these calcs, we submitted them to engineering, and it sounds like they're okay with it, from my understanding.
If I may, Madam Chair, in your packet is included the engineering review, which they have done their own calculations on both of those drainage areas, and they've essentially determined them to be adequate in size.
Right. But wasn't there a question about erosion and soil control sort of off the back end there up at the north?
There was an erosion control plan submitted, I believe, in the package.
There was.
Yeah, there is.
I believe the only outstanding comments from engineering were related to those 2 drainage calculations that they submitted, plus the interconnected basins, which they had proposed initially, but in this final set of plans, they have corrected. So according to engineering, you're good to go.
So to sum up, we're good,
That is correct.
right? And you suggested some conditions that could be put on that positive motion when we make it next week.
Correct.
Right, looks like we're in good shape.
So we're good, okay, great, thank you.
May I make a comment?
Yes, you may.
Okay, because I keep hearing him saying, well, we're going to pave in the property and fill potholes here, but this plan that I have in front of me indicates that the whole is going to be paved all the way back to there.
Yes, this will all, I'm not sure, because I didn't really do the engineering on this. I'm not sure if this entire existing surface is gonna be repaved. I know there's areas that will be resurfaced.
They were just paving near the handicapped area, and they
So-
were fixing the gravel driveway.
So the driveway is to be paved from the street back to the property. It will be let me say, it will be a paved driveway from 20 feet wide from the front, from the street back to the building. Portions of that driveway are already paved, so they may be, cutting in, 400 feet of pavement here, 400, but at the end of the day, we will have a 20-foot wide paved driveway from the street back to the property.
And the town engineers are satisfied with that.
And the drainage that accompanies it, because that additional pavement requires additional drainage, and they've accounted for the drainage from that extra paved areas.
Paul?
Yeah, at one point, there was some discussion about the 2 drainage manholes being connected, one
They-
going to the other. Can you address
They
that, please?
we revised the plan. Basically, now the individual catch basins will go into a drain manhole, which will go into the leaching subsurface.
Thank you.
So we have revised that.
Any other comments or questions needed?
We also have the request to extend the time.
The decision deadline is November 7th, so they've requested that that decision deadline be moved back to the end of the month,
Oh,
November
okay,
30th.
so we have
So
two
there are
motions
two
we need
things
to
that,
make,
yeah,
right.
that was my.
So if you'd make one of our motions?
Okay, which one would you prefer? The extension of the deadline, I
Let's
think,
do
is the
deadline.
cleanest.
Right.
Okay, cleanest.
Wait,
Okay.
Paul?
There's a lot of construction going on there right now. What is that in advance of this approval?
I am not sure what construction is going on. I'm
Doing a
not
lot of work
aware-
out
I'm
there.
not aware.
New bulkheads and... I don't have a problem, I'm just curious.
My name's Alex Kahn. I'm the one that is leasing, my wife and I are leasing it from my wife's family. And what we did before, there was a lot of unauthorized dumping over 40, 50 years. So I had a company come in and remove all of that and then level it out because just need to get rid of it. And then I knew COVID was going to be coming, kind of all did, so I bought the steel building before the prices went up, which turns out was a good thing. So that's there. Other than that, I
In fact,
built
there was
a,
bulkhead construction too, surprised me.
there's no construction going on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Bob, did you have,
No.
no? Okay, go ahead, Pam.
So I'll move that we accept Attorney Glynn's request to extend the time for the planning board to make a decision on this project until November 30th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pam?
I saw her say aye.
We need to see a thumbs
I
up.
know. Thumbs
There we
up,
go.
okay.
Thumbs up. And now?
Okay. The next motion is, well, we don't have a decision in
You would
front of us.
like
We
the
don't have a
board to
decision.
prepare
We
a
would like
positive
Yeah.
motion for
the-
the meeting of the 23rd?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
No, we don't have a motion on that.
We don't
just-
need that, we
Yeah,
just
we don't need a
requested,
motion.
Instruct or say please.
please. We already
Will
know the
do.
conditions.
Yes,
Okay.
Deb does stellar work.
Okay, we're good.
When is the next hearing?
November 23rd, and there will be a motion in front of the board to approve the plan.
We appreciate it. That's ahead of the plan, the zoning, so we appreciate it.
I'm glad it works out for you. Good luck with the project.
Thanks, Bob.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
We have one more piece of business. The applicant is Karen Sacchetti, trustee. A site plan application to construct a detached accessory apartment located at 461 Central Avenue. A lot going on at Central Avenue.
Notices.
Notice.
Notice of this public meeting was published on October 22nd, 2021, and 8 abutters were notified by regular mail.
Evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Matthew Sacchetti. I'm Richard Sacchetti and Karen Sacchetti's son. I'm here on Richard and Karen's behalf. Karen is my mother. She's the applicant.
Is your mother the author, Karen Sacchetti?
The
She's
author
an author
of what?
named Karen Sacchetti.
The author of what?
She's the author of a couple of different books, but she apparently lives in Florida, but came from Providence and went to Leslie College.
No, Karen went to Vassar, class of 74.
Okay, just wondered.
She writes a few. No, she worked for Carver Public School Systems, and she's written a few.
Books.
Not tomes.
Okay.
No.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm
No,
sorry.
actually, that's interesting because I've never heard of anyone sharing the name Karen Sacchetti other
The
than
name,
mom.
the spelling, the everything.
I'll Google it.
Yep, I don't think you have a choice at this point.
All right, yeah.
For your information, it's a love story.
Now I definitely have to Google it.
So, What is she trying to
Moving
do?
along.
All right, so there's going to be addition upon the, it's basically an in-law apartment. It's always been the fourth bedroom of the homestead. It's an addition, basically, to give it more space and provide a galley kitchen.
Is there anything else you wish to say about it?
Not particularly. I believe you've received all the plans, and I'm.
Are there more pictures up there?
There are more pictures, perhaps I could toggle through.
Yeah, if you
Yeah, we
could
could look at the
navigate and
pictures.
let Richard kind of explain what's going on from the pictures.
So the floor is yours, but this is the existing floor plan that was provided by the applicant. And then here are some pictures of the existing structure. As you can see here, in this top image, this is where the actual addition will occur. It'll be supported by 3 posts on the back end. And we'll just give you a schematic for the inside of the structure. So this is the proposed second floor. Again, this is the existing space, which I believe includes the existing bathroom.
That's correct.
The addition will be this back area here, will be the galley kitchen is described, and there'll be a new bedroom off the back end. So-
It appears to meet all the requirements that we have for accessory dwelling units. It's within the size limits. It matches the style of the house because it barely changes anything. The changes are facing away from the street. There's an unusual feature to the garage. It has 2 garage doors for 1 car. But that's part of the existing conditions. But
Front
it's
and back.
Oh, in the
front
back.
and back, yeah,
Back.
but so you can drive through. But looks fine to me. Any comments? John?
A question, presuming this gets approved, how many bedrooms will the house have total?
4 total. There's always been, or since 1992, the unit was built in 1990. There was a big addition in 1992. Since 1992, there has been the 4 bedrooms.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, it's a comment because the calculations on the application don't match when I started adding. The proposed accessory dwelling unit, the way I calculated it, is not 480 square feet, it's 576 square feet. Not a problem, it still fits, but the
Right.
calculations need to be cleaned up. That's it,
Ah,
okay?
okay.
So, in other words, on the flip side here where it's in blue,
There's a couple of things there. What the sheet says 5 bedrooms, the write-up says 4 bedrooms. I think
Yeah.
that's what creates the question.
the application just has to be cleaned up, that's right.
Right.
Not that it is not
This
approvable.
single sheet.
Yeah, okay?
The handwritten sheet, just tidy it up.
And I think staff can help on that.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay? It would not be a problem. That's all I'm saying. It's not a problem, but to tidy it up so the application is correct.
I've just a comment. Are we approving the red Corvette too? You know the pictures.
The graphic did depict Dick's, what we call Dad's 3/4 life crisis.
Thanks. So as you can see on the staff report, all referrals came back positive. Even the Board of Health indicated a positive review, as did engineering. And our review indicated the same. So we'll work with the applicant to clean up that application page and perhaps.
We request,
Well, the question is too, whether it's detached or attached. And the way it's pictured, it would be detached because there's a walkway.
it's just a covered walkway.
Yeah,
It's not enclosed.
so it would be detached.
So that's what we're looking at in this photo here is, that's open, front to back.
So Jed can speak to it so I don't confuse people, but the building commissioner has basically said if it's not attached by a common wall, it's considered detached, even though the structure is continuous
Yeah.
across the breezeway. So for the purposes of permitting, the planning board will be approving the site plan where we see no changes from the street, and the ZBA will be approving the use as a detached unit.
I have one more board to go to. We will be requesting a positive
Just a
motion
question,
for our next meeting, which will be the 23rd of November.
I think it.
Oh,
yeah,
Bob?
just a question for the future. If that was a mudroom that connected the two, would that then be considered common wall between?
I would think, because it would be a room.
Yeah,
I looked at it and I like, based on my, genius of studies architecture, it looks attached to me because it's attached, but it's not.
Not, you need a wall.
And that's when we got into the definition of semi-attached, detached dwelling. This is in our zoning bylaw as well, which is, there's some interesting stuff. But anyhow, the building commissioner is the person who interprets that, and he has said, while it's attached, it's not attached in the purposes of building. So, ZBA for a detached structure.
So if one had wanted to go to only one board and it were important, you could just put up a wall on one side of that breezeway.
Two of
Is
them.
that right?
Yeah, no, you
yeah, you have to
have
enclose,
to enclose it,
close it,
Enclosed space, okay.
yeah.
and then you
More than
lose
a
the
wall.
breeze. And who wants that?
Right,
You want the breeze.
you need the wind. Okay, I think we're all set for today, and we'll see you again on the 23rd.
The 23rd of November?
Yeah.
Great, and I'm here as a representative of Karen and Richard. I'm sure you'll contact them.
I believe that we will.
Jen, I believe you spoke.
I did.
Great, and I will be here. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget your Googling.
Yeah, Karen Sacchetti, she wrote Love.
I wish I could remember the title. But it's a love story.
My project for this evening.
Right, that's how I found it, Googling. Okay, where are we now? Signatures. We're gonna do signatures on McSweeney, Mylar, and Covenant.
Yes, that's over here, and we can obviously do that as the board adjourns.
Once we stand
We
up.
also have,
Announcements, we did, I don't see a
Article-
purple folder, but we had correspondence.
So Article 28. So planning board signature on McSweeney Covenant, and then after that, we have Article 28 on the November 21.
Oh, right, we haven't discussed Article 28. There's been question about this. People are concerned, some people are concerned, that Article 28, which, according to the drafters of the charter review proposals, they didn't intend to in any way encroach on our authorities, but there's concern that perhaps it does. Have you each had a chance to look at this, Article 28, to see the way they want to word this? No?
well, I did look at it, and I don't have a problem. I initially did the way it was worded long ago, and I communicated
Yeah,
with Peter, and that was changed.
so this is now the new one.
Yes, and I really don't have any problem with it as it is now. Because frankly, other boards can do whatever they want to do on anything we approve. It doesn't matter. They can give their own viewpoint.
Well, apparently, we have some absolute authorities that this wouldn't touch at all. Tom was explaining that. Maybe you'd like to share it with the whole board.
Yes. So, presently, the part of the charter, as it currently reads, says, making recommendations to town meeting on all warrant articles, especially those that are the responsibility of the Finance Committee, the Community Preservation Committee, or the Planning Board. And the language was stricken regarding the make recommendations that are the responsibility of the Finance Committee, Community Preservation Committee, or the Planning Board. So that new language says that making recommendations to town meeting on any article, especially those for which other government bodies have not provided recommendations. So in the case of zoning bylaws, the Planning Board makes a recommendation. And if they don't make a recommendation, the article isn't properly before town meeting. Under Massachusetts general law, in modifying a zoning bylaw, the planning board has a hearing. The planning board closes the hearing and submits a report to town meeting. Mr. Dreyer's magic words. In the event that the planning board doesn't close the hearing or does not submit a report, the article is not properly in front of town meeting. So if we have a hearing and we close it, and we don't make a recommendation, that article has to sit for 45 days until essentially there's a veto, a pocket veto, that the planning board did make a recommendation, but 45 days have elapsed since the end of the hearing. So if the planning board was to hold a hearing open when something came to town meeting, they likely couldn't move it on the floor at town meeting because the board hadn't made a recommendation. Now, the board's recommendation can be verbal or in writing. And sometimes when you've got, and I've seen in towns where the board was having a hearing prior to the town meeting convening and made that recommendation on the floor. But you cannot move a zoning article without the planning board's recommendation unless 45 days have elapsed from the end of the hearing that they're required to hold under Massachusetts general law. So my take is this doesn't affect the planning board because they can't move zoning without you.
Anyway.
Right.
Right, but we don't need to do anything about this except discuss it and understand it.
That's my take.
Right. 'Cause what it reads to me is that if there's something going before town meeting and it doesn't appear to have a recommendation, the select board can make one, but they already could. So this is sort of superfluous.
As we know, people have been looking at the charter with a very focused lens for some years now. And God bless them.
Yes, indeed, more power to them. So, this doesn't say any, oh, yes, it does. Coastal resilience, Charlie McCaffrey will not be with us because he didn't receive our invitation correctly, so we're going to have to invite him formally, and we will at the soonest opportunity. When?
I sent him a note tonight that said, at your convenience, we can, as soon as I hear back from him, we'll schedule it. It could be the 23rd, but as Paul pointed out, and as I noticed when I was out on a site visit today, if you're jonesing to hear more about coastal resiliency, he is doing a presentation at the West Falmouth Library tomorrow on the 10th. And it's a lovely venue.
So, that's when we'll hear that. We did get a piece of correspondence. It related to it's from Bernice Johnson, and it related to the matter that's going to come up on the 14th, so maybe we should wait until then for this correspondence. I didn't think there was any other correspondence.
Not that I'm aware of.
Not. Okay, future agenda items, a few have come forward. I think, Jim, I don't know where he is tonight, but he would like us to, at some point, have a discussion on what role does the planning board have in uses? If there's a question about a use, who is responsible for that? Do we have a role in that? So that would be a possible agenda item. I've asked for the engineering department to come forward and speak to us about their concerns about 53G. That I think one of the reasons we're getting extra kind of leave it to the planning board sort of findings is because they're concerned that we haven't acted on that in a way that they like. So I thought it'd be good to invite Mr. McConnett,
Peter McConnedy.
Peter McConnedy to come talk to us about it. Let's hear their point of view directly from them. So perhaps you would be able to do that soon.
That is tentatively scheduled for the 23rd.
For the 23rd.
Yep. So we'll confirm with Peter that that date still works for them. So
Right, and just see what his side of the story is. Then, Jed brought up something, and Tom did also, that we might want to take some action on reasonably soon. You know, you went, John, to the Complete Streets hearing that DPW was doing.
Yes, and I approved it. All done.
There might be time to do something more.
Unanimous vote.
Did you read what Jed had to say about on-street parking? No.
So just for
That paper that we
clarification.
got
That
the
paper
last
that we
time?
got,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
If we actually want a shot at having on-street parking for Davis Straits, we would need to make that thought known to the DPW reasonably soon. I don't know what their time frame is. It's not immediate, but
Sooner the better.
yeah, the sooner the better. Otherwise, we'll miss that opportunity all the way along. How do we go about that?
Well, let me say this, that, and I think you're talking about not Complete Streets, but Route 28 and the Davis Straits reset.
Right.
So we have our next working group with the Davis Straits reset is tentatively scheduled for November 30th or December 2nd, as soon as I hear back from all those folks. So I think if we want to have this sort of formal discussion from the planning board, we might, at the next working group meeting, sort of have the working group put together, their sort of, and working groups, we typically don't vote. We're talking about things we're doing by acclamation, because we're not, really making, it's the discussion that comes to the board. So we would likely have them put a finer point on the things we talked about at the meeting on the 6th, and maybe bring it back to the planning board the first meeting of December to say, this is the consensus of the working group. Does the planning board want to make a recommendation to DPW to consider the inclusion of on-street parking for Route 28 section being considered to be redeveloped, you don't remodel a street, give me a hint. I'm drawing a blank.
Reconstruct.
Thank you.
Yeah, someone had said that the state won't allow on-street parking on a state road. This can't be true, because state roads go through a number of towns
Yeah.
that have plenty of parking all over them.
Well, it depends on who actually owns and maintains that section of a state numbered route. Because there are sections of state numbered highways that a town or a city maintains.
Like our
That
own
has
Main Street.
ownership, exactly.
Main Street.
So in those situations, you may find on-street parking, but typically, state highway jurisdiction, you would never see on-street parking. It's just been a sort of rule of thumb, if you will, at least in my experience. And, in recent discussions with them, it was, well, it's an application, it's a permit that could be issued, and so one may just need to ask sometimes and demonstrate the need.
Right. But we would want to have stuck our oar in the water before we get to the waterfall.
And we're in the headwaters at this point,
Yes.
design-wise.
Yeah.
It's early days.
To
Okay,
take that analogy upstream.
we'll go with it for now. It's moving, though. Because it'd be too bad to miss out on that opportunity. And I think that was it for things that have come to my attention of what we wanted to do for the future. John?
So we're talking about having a meeting on the 23rd regarding 53G.
Yeah.
Last time we discussed this, we were going to invite the general public to also come in and make comments. Is that still what we're going to do, or?
I had forgotten that. Thank you for reminding me. That's good. Tom, we need to invite the general public for the 23rd so that to be part of the conversation?
That's a YES.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I suppose, well, how varied would the members of the general public be from the notice that we're giving? Because there are going to be clearly sides to this issue.
There's clearly people that are already experiencing 53G.
Ah,
They may want to comment.
okay.
They may not.
They might.
But if we're going to hear one side, we should hear, if there is another side, we should hear it, I think.
I agree with you, but I'd forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. If that's it for future agenda items.
I move adjournment.
Wait, Paul?
Sorry.
I have a question. I believe the precinct meeting started last night. Did anyone attend,
Oh,
and
they
what
started-
reaction?
They started last week.
Well, last week.
Oh.
Did anyone attend, and was there
Yeah,
any pushback on some of the articles proposed by the planning board?
Yes, I went to 8 and 9, the first night, and the second night to 5 and 6. And neither meeting was very well attended. There's apparently no great item of wild public interest. There were definitely town meeting members and activists rather than stirring any hornet's nests. On our items, there were a couple of questions. One, there was some sort of Scrivener's errors on the Roman numerals that became the butt of some jokes, but we got past that. And then, let's see, what else was there a question about? Not
One
much.
gentleman had a question about recodification and the effects it'll have.
Ah,
He was at 8 and 9.
right. But I can't remember what the question was.
That was pretty technical. He said he worked with the government, whether, writing up, what, forms or guidelines, and anyway, I didn't have the answer for him either, so.
Right.
Okay, and at precinct 3, there was a question about 3/4 story and what that meant. And, well, then couldn't it go to 4 stories if the top one was a 3/4 story? And so they wanted to see limit put in that not to exceed 35 feet, but that's in our bylaws anyway. So they couldn't exceed it anyway. And the other one was, oh boy, I'm blowing this one. Again, it was a limitation that you can't do something that was, we thought was kind of implicit. And that may be brought up, it may not be, that you couldn't, because we had defined it very simply, but they wanted to see a comma. Can't be done, you know.
And you told me what it was now.
Yeah, and I can't
now.
remember what it is, but that's, I'm sorry.
But there did not seem, there was no outcry against it. There
No.
didn't seem to be any organized move to not vote for them.
No.
Or if so, they weren't at these meetings.
No, and there was nothing, no question on the recodification.
Right.
Wow. Tomorrow night downstairs is precinct 1 and 2. And they're generally very active on some of these issues, so it'll be interesting to see what they do tomorrow night.
Well, I thought that there would be more. 5 and 6 doesn't often have a lot of questions anyway, but I thought 8 and 9 might, because they do. They've got some outspoken people there, but not, comments more than questions. So now, Pat,
I move adjournment.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
How about
See ya,
Pam?
Pat.
How about Pam, has she agreed?